Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Dr. Scope, do you believe all Black lives matter?
Of course I do.
You have written that widespread abortion in the Black population has become an acceptable, quotes, acceptable form of racism in the United States today. You wrote, clearly, this quote, clearly abortion has disproportionately affected the Black community, leading to a decrease in their population numbers, as well as many adverse consequences to women and children. Many of the pathologies, your word, affecting the Black community can be at least partially attributed to the breakdown in families and the absence of paternal involvement facilitated by abortion. Mental health complications in Black women leading to deaths of despair can be caused by abortion. Could you explain to me what your expertise and familiarity is with Black families?
Well, I have a niece and a nephew that are both Black.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Scope. Turning now to Professor Murray, how would you respond to this argument?
So thank you so much for the question. The purported links between abortion and the eugenics movement is a subject of my own scholarship. I recently published a paper in the Harvard Law Review outlining the ways in which this narrative of abortion as eugenics is being used to advance race-based grounds for overruling Roe versus Wade. And the increased interest in this narrative can be traced to Justice Clarence Thomas's 2019 concurrence in Box versus Planned Parenthood of Indiana and Kentucky. There, Justice Thomas attempted to graft abortion to the history of the eugenics movement in the United States. Unfortunately, the history upon which he relied to do so was woefully incomplete. Justice Thomas was correct to note that in the 1920s and 1930s, the United States was in the grips of eugenics fervor and its concomitant interests in racial purity and white supremacy. However, in advancing those interests in racial purity, the eugenicists did not rely on abortion. Rather, their efforts were channeled into bans on interracial marriage, immigration laws that kept certain ethnic minorities out of this country, and most importantly for our purposes, forcible and coercive sterilization of those with so-called weak or deleterious genes. These sterilization laws were later repurposed and redirected in the 1960s toward poor women who were receiving public assistance. So this is all to say that sterilization, rather than abortion, was the eugenicists' preferred means of reproductive control. And to the extent that abortion figured into this eugenic fervor at all, it was in the effort to compel native-born white women to reproduce in greater numbers. In the period following the Civil War, there was considerable anxiety about the changing demographic character of this country. White middle-class women were using contraception and abortion to limit their families to manageable sizes, while immigrant women were having babies in record numbers. Fearing the replacement of native-born whites by immigrants, policymakers sought to reverse the trend among white women by enacting criminal bans on abortion throughout this country. And then finally, I will just note that some of the members of this committee are among the 14 House Republicans who voted against making Juneteenth a federal holiday. When you fail to take even this modest step to acknowledge the Black experience in this country, it is very difficult to take seriously your claims that your support of flagrantly unconstitutional abortion restrictions are animated by concern for Black women and our children.
Thank you very much. I yield back.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Fallon, is recognized for 5 minutes.